atmosphere around Area 51? I mean, I take it when you went up to Area 51, you hit the museum and all that stuff too around Roswell, didn't you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again?
Well, when you were at Area 51 and that area too, did you go to around Roswell and hit the museum and all that stuff?
Oh, no. We stayed in the Area 51 area, and then we headed back. But the people at Rachel, Nevada, I mean, they're very friendly, very nice, very open. They were willing to tell their stories. I met one gentleman at the Alien who claimed that he worked at Area 51, and he wouldn't give me details, but he said that everything that Bob Lazar said is true.
Oh, wow.
And I said, can you elaborate on that? And he goes, I can't. He goes, I'm just going to let you know what he's saying is true. And he left it at that.
Well, that kind of backs up because, Bob Lazar has never changed his story from the very beginning to now. It has never wavered. Most of the time, if you listen to somebody, even when I have a guest on my show, sometimes like 2 or 3 times over a 2-year period, their story kind of wavers. It changes a little bit, or it embellishes. And his has never changed at all. It's been, this solid.
Yeah, absolutely. He's always been very consistent with his story, and that's one of the things I admire about him, because everything what he was saying, it even makes sense, So, and I probably S7 where they were back engineering UFOs. Now with Area 51 getting so much publicity, and our president, not Trump, but I believe it was Obama, who acknowledged Area 51 existed. So with all that going on, there's a lot of rumors that they now moved the UFOs, the crashed UFOs, to Utah or Colorado.
I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt it. There's another place by Area 51. I think it's like about 30 miles away, and that's where my suspicion where some of it might have went, because there's no way, you're going to be able to spy on it or see it. But, now pretty much, Area 51 is a test site for, new secret, whatever, stealth fighters, bombers, drones, and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And our government does keep a lot of hidden secrets from us because, like I told you, at the Photo Interpretation Center in Korea, those 6 photographs came in of UFOs, and another photograph came in on one particular day that had nothing to do with UFOs, but it was very shocking to me because we're talking about 1981, and they had a photograph of what was possibly an American POW in Vietnam. So, and then later on, Special Forces, the Green Berets, were talking about that there were still American POWs in Vietnam, which was published in the newspapers. So I knew at that point in time, working at military intelligence, that our military intelligence was looking at the possibility that POWs in 1981 were still in Vietnam. So that was kind of, and that never got published in the newspapers or any magazines that was happening, except from what the Special Forces guys were saying.
Well, what you did too, and my friend who was with the DOD, he has told me so many different things, like, and he just recently left the last couple years with the DOD, but he said that the government has gotten so sophisticated, that your smart TVs and stuff like that, if you're on the watch list, and I don't need to go into it, but if you get somehow on a watch list where they're, tracking you because you either know somebody or you talk to somebody that's on the list, you become automatically of interest. that they can actually monitor your conversations from your living room. And he was talking about him and his wife, for example, was talking about he wanted to go get a special made beach bike that nobody around carries, right? He didn't have a cell phone with him or in the front room at that time. He had nothing, but they had the TV in the front room. The next morning, right, he gets up and they figured they're going to go try to find somebody they can order this bike from because it's a special made bike. Guess what started appearing on his cell phone?
What?
The bike.
Oh,
my
wow.
And, he told me, like, what's really bad is how they monitor your emails if you get on the list, how they monitor your phone conversation. Even if, for example, if I was on the list and I'm talking to you, you'll end up on the list. So they'll start monitoring you. And I've had him on my show, James, maybe 8-9 times, that guy?
Oh, yeah, at least.
And every time I had him on the show and we started talking about some sophisticated stuff that the government uses and has, weird things would start happening.
Well, remember the helicopters?
Oh, you
Was
mean
that him?
No, that was another person who went.
Oh.
That was a guy who went into Texas, and he
That's
found
right.
this abandoned farm. And but he saw a couple trucks, gray trucks, near a silo, and he saw these guys, he was looking with binoculars. He saw these guys in like military fatigues go into the silo and then disappear. And then he noticed there was a radio tower there. When he started walking around this abandoned farm, it said property of the U.S. government and all this stuff, right? And then these black helicopters showed up over him. And that was rather interesting. Then he was on my show, and we were talking about it. And we were on for like 2 hours. We went for our break. And when he went outside, he sent me pictures because what was over his house, James, you remember? It was a black helicopter.
Absolutely. Wow. I got them too confused, but they were so similar with different weird stuff going on while you're talking to them sometimes.
Yeah, and he started sending me these pictures of this black helicopter flying over his house and just hovering while we were talking about this secret military base, it looked like a farm. And then a couple of nights later, he was on Coast to Coast. And while they took a break on Coast to Coast, he was freaking out. He started sending me a whole bunch of texts. He said the helicopters, 2 of them, are hovering over his house. I started thinking maybe the guy's getting paranoid. He's showing me a video clip. Here's 2 black helicopters flying, hovering over his house.
That's intimidation.
Well, yeah, because the guy was actually divulging some other information. And I think it got out really fast.
Yeah, sometimes your conversations would get cut off at mysterious times, too, if you recall.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was that, that like the device, I guess, that government has where you can be in your living room and they point it at you and you drop dead over a heart attack.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. That's scary.
That's crazy. One of the things, too, that my wife did, when the lady from NASA called her, they wanted to know how she uncloaks UFOs. So that was very interesting that she would ask that. So, and my wife tried to explain it the best way she could. So it was kind of odd that she would ask that. And was she really from NASA? I don't know. But
maybe from the DOD.
Possibly been a Men in Black type thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But one of our UFO, like we do our UFO hunts, we go to Mount Shasta, Monterey Bay, where there's UFO activity, and out into the Golden Triangle, where Bill Burns says there's UFO activity because of the gold in the abandoned mines, and that the UFOs are attracted to the gold. And we went to Grass Valley, which is near Beale Air Force Base. And the occupant had called us over there because he said that there was a lot of UFO activity coming from Beale Air Force Base. And that these UFOs were flying in the sky in a zigzag motion or very erratically. And we saw what possibly could be a UFO. And my wife was 200 yards away from me with her own little team.
Okay,
and I
Paul.
had my little team.
Paul, we got to hold on for a couple minutes. It's time for a station break. Again, for the people out here listening on the internet, you're going to hear music, you're going to hear stuff like that. Unfortunately, you don't get to hear the commercials because it feeds out from the radio stations. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. You got James and you got Paul, and we're talking about UFOs, a little bit about Area 51, and strange paranormal things. We'll be right back on Night Dreams Talk Radio.
I'm not ready yet.
What we are asking for from the government is full disclosure. Because we know what we're seeing, and there are so many of us. We're not
As I gaze upon the annals of time, one thing that comes through: we are not alone in this universe. It's a thought that rings true. Ancient cave dwellers drew spacecraft on the walls. It's a recurring theme. I've seen the same thing while walking late at night, and I know it's not a dream.
From Malmstrom to Manat, Boston to LA, there are people asking questions and they will not go away. But what has been seen might not be what it seems. The government's shadows dance and deceive.
If you tell the truth, they will ridicule everything you say and do. It's all part of a deception. It's a puppet master's tool. And I've seen those craft shut down up the silos from 10 miles away. And there ain't nothing that the Pentagon can do. They can't make them go away.
You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, from our compound to you worldwide, with your host, Gary Anderson.
That is me. We're talking to Paul Roberts. We have James Christbaum out there in the background, and me, Gary, on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. Big shout out to all the truckers who listen to the replays or the downloads while they're making their long hauls. I just want to say thank you guys. I mean, you send me so much information about all those creepy paranormal things that happen when you're driving late at night. Don't pick up hitchhikers is what I hear a lot. Hey, Paul, you still here?
I'm still here, Gary.
Yeah. I would like to be out with a trucker for maybe a week and see, because I get a lot of truckers, sending me paranormal stuff that, they see like men or women walking on the side of the road. They pick them up, and then, they all of a sudden they're talking to them, and then they turn their head and they're not there in the cab anymore. I hear that quite often. I think that would be so creepy. What do you think, James?
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. If you're driving along and you look and you see somebody and you look again and you don't, that really sends chills right up the back of your neck, right to the base of it. Let me tell you.
Well, it would sure scare me. Now, Paul, getting back